swimming in the ocean of nectar? Are you diving deep? Very good. That is what spiritual life is. And it is important that we are constantly reminded about that. And that's why the association of devotees is so important. Because in the association of devotees, we are reminded about our actual purpose, actual goal. Why did we join ISKCON? We need to remind ourselves about that. And that is actually the most important factor for making spiritual advancement. When we are in the association of devotees, we are reminded that we are actually in an ocean of nectar. We have fallen into an ocean of nectar. And so now let's relish it, relish the nectar and enrich ourselves. Let's get drowned in that ocean of nectar. The more we get drowned, the deeper we go, the closer we'll come to the spiritual sky. So, today is the 5th chapter. We are discussing about the 5th chapter, or rather we are going to discuss about the 5th chapter. So did you all read this chapter carefully? Then do I need to go through it? Okay. So this chapter is entitled as The Purity of Devotional Service. The purity of devotional service. And Prabhupada is saying that all the previous instructions imparted by Srila Rupa Goswami in his broad statement, on his broad statements, can be summarized thus. So Prabhupada is summarizing all that we discussed in the previous chapters, all the instructions that Srila Rupa Goswami gave. So this is actually very important. So take care of it, take note of it carefully. As long as one is materially inclined or desirous of merging into the spiritual effulgence, one cannot enter into the realm of pure devotional service. Actually, this point came up time and time again. Anna bhilashita sunnam jnana karmad anapritam. So Prabhupada is emphasizing that point, jnana karmad anapritam. Later on in this chapter we'll come across that point, the Prabhupada is saying that there are 3 processes of spiritual advancement. For spiritual enlightenment, there are only three processes: karma, jnana, and bhakti. Although karma or fruitive activities is a part of spiritual advancement, a part of the process for spiritual advancement, but actually it is an impediment. Ultimately, it is an impediment. It is a progress to some extent, but when you come to pure devotional service, then it is actually an impediment. It's a covering. Same thing with jnana, liberation. So, karma is leading to sense gratification or activities, apparently spiritual activities, motivated by sense gratification, is karma. Apparently spiritual activities motivated by desire for liberation is jnana. So, Yesterday the point came up that why jnana is considered to be an impediment. Because jnana is, Krishna is saying that jnani, the bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mang prapaddati. Jnanavan surrenders unto me. But here we have to understand the jnana also falls in, there are two categories of jnana. One is the impersonal Brahman realization. So when that jnana that is an impediment, that is that impersonal Brahman realization, Brahma Gyan. It's indicating Brahma Gyan. Knowledge about Krishna and Krishna's pastimes, and like say for example, we are acquiring some knowledge from Nectar of Devotion. Now this is obviously not an impediment. This is substantiating our spiritual advancement. So we have to understand that jnana that has been referred here is the impersonal Brahman realization, Brahma Gyan, and which leads to Sajuja Mukti, merging with the bodily effulgence of the Lord. So Prabhupada is pointing out here that as long as one is inclined to merging, as long as one is materially inclined or desirous of merging into spiritual effulgence, one cannot enter into the realm of pure devotional service. Next, Rupa Goswami states, the devotional service is transcendental to all material considerations, and that it is not limited to any particular country, class, society or circumstances. So devotional service is not meant for an exclusive few. Devotional service is meant for everyone. Devotional service is not only meant for human beings, devotional service is also open to animals and even trees and plants. Wherever there is a spirit soul, it has its birthright, so to say, for devotional service. It is the spirit soul's constitutional occupation. So, wherever there is a spirit soul, he has the freedom or the eligibility to become involved in devotional service. It's only a matter of developing his relationship with Krishna. So, devotional service is executed without any hope for gain. There shouldn't be any consideration for any kind of gain. We don't have to benefit anything out of devotional service, materially or even spiritually. It is devotional service actually means I can't help it. There's a feedback. So Hare Krishna. Now it's better. Devotional service. Why should we become engaged in devotional service? And what is the ultimate consideration? The ultimate consideration should be, we can't help it. We can't help it. So that is the meaning of the occupational, the constitutional occupation or constitutional position of a living entity. A living entity cannot help but love Krishna. And Prabhupada later on, of course, we'll find, not in this chapter, but later on in Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada is very clearly, very wonderfully explaining that how everybody has a tendency to love. Everybody has a propensity to love. Is there anyone who can stay without loving? We have seen the worst criminals also had such love, deep love for Like I was remembering, like it was one of the Dale Carnegie's writings. I think it was, anyway, whatever. He was describing about one of the very, very notorious criminals, not Al Capone, but something like Al Capone. And he just killed a few policemen, and then they found that he was actually hiding in one apartment. So it was, I think, in Chicago, and they surrounded that building, the police surrounded that building, and this person was still fighting against the entire, practically the entire police force of Chicago. And then finally, they killed him. And when they went to that room where he was, they found a note that he wrote just before he succumbed, that underneath this weary heart, now underneath this cruel and apparently merciless body, there was a weary heart which wanted to love somebody and wanted some love from others. Like the worst criminal, I mean, even he is searching for love, and he also wants to love somebody. And we can see the animals, like the most ferocious animals, lions, tigers, snakes. I mean, you can see that love they have for their offsprings. A lion mother is prepared to do anything to protect her cub. When a snake is hatching the eggs, you go near that, she is most ferocious. She will, generally the snakes don't go out of their way to bite you. But if you are considered to be a threat to her offsprings, children, then she will attack. So, so this way we can, why is that? Because they have a tendency to love somebody. But unfortunately in the material nature we do not know who to love. But when we are reminded that we are, the only object of our love is Krishna, then our love becomes successful. So, so this is what Rupa Goswami is actually trying to remind us, that every living entity has his loving relationship with Krishna. Therefore, everyone has his freedom to become situated in devotional service. And Prabhupada is criticizing after that there was, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disappearance and Nityananda Prabhu's disappearance, a bunch of unscrupulous people, they started to call themselves as the successors to Nityananda Prabhu. And they identified themselves as Goswamis. And they claimed that only they have the right to perform devotional service. They are the Goswamis, they call the caste Goswamis. In Vrindavan also we see that there are so many Goswamis. Actually, Vrindavan Goswamis, they were taken from by the 6 Goswamis when they established the temples. They actually took some pujaris from Bengal to take care of the deities. They took some devotees, actually they gave them initiation, and just as probably at that time there was some rigidity in deity worship. Srila Prabhupada actually opened it up completely. Prabhupada, those days, generally the deity worships were performed by the caste Brahmins. Individuals, those were born in Brahmin families. So the Goswamis took these Brahmanas from Bengal But then they started to claim that only they have the right for devotional service. But they are actually pujaris. And that's, we can see that they were neophytes. They were not really pure devotees. They were just pujaris. They were taken there to worship the deities. And they started this cult of caste Goswami. And in Bengal, there was this Nityananda Vamsa. They are not Nityananda Prabhu's direct descendants. But because they were initiated by Nityananda Prabhu, and maybe the Brahmana, those who are born in Brahmana families, they assume that leading role, that we are the Nityananda Vamsa. And so in this way, the cult of Krishna consciousness became, I feel bad to use the expression cult of Krishna consciousness, because the word cult has such a negative connotation nowadays. And Prabhupada also used the word cult of Krishna consciousness sometimes. This process of Krishna consciousness is so sublime and so broad and so pure. And this is how this movement is going to spread all over the world. Like if we exclude others, then how this movement is going to spread? So in order to make this movement spread, we have to include everybody. And that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood. Yes, other things, deity worship in orthodox way, Vedic way, Vaidhi Bhakti platform, may be executed only by the Brahmanas. And in ISKCON also we have that standard. Brahmana not by birth, but by qualification, one has to be second initiated in order to do deity worship. Why? Because this is deity worship is done according to Vaidhi Bhakti. Therefore, the scriptural injunctions has to be followed. But in Raganuga Bhakti, there is no such consideration. Like in Raganuga Bhakti, anybody can develop his relationship with Krishna, because Raganuga Bhakti means love. When it is based on love, it is Raganuga. When it is based on scriptural injunctions, rules and regulations, then it is Vaidhi. Then Prabhupada is saying, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the powerful Acharya of the Gauriya Vaishnava Sampradaya, completely smashed their ideas. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was a lion-like personality when it came to smashing those apasampradayas who are actually stifling the progress of Krishna consciousness movement. He just mercilessly destroyed them. It is on the basis of his position that anyone can now become a Gauriya Vaishnava from any part of the world or any part of the universe. So Prabhupada actually made it happen. Previously it was theoretically pointed out that anybody has the liberty to become a devotee of Krishna. And in India, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur demonstrated that. Doesn't matter. Irrespective of your caste and creed, you can become a devotee of Krishna. And for that matter, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also revolutionized this concept. Like prior to that, it was the spiritual life was exclusively reserved for the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas had the exclusive right for spiritual life. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually included everybody. When he went to Jagannath Puri, he was and started to spread the Sankirtan movement. Like he included everybody, just ordinary people, outcasts, and all these people were invited to participate in Sankirtan movement. And as a result of that, the Brahmanas became very upset. They thought that even actually, not only in Jagannath Puri, even in Navadvip, when Mahaprabhu started his Sankirtan movement, the Brahmanas were upset that he is including everybody, allowing everybody to practice the Vedic process. And for that matter, he started a new thing, chanting the holy name of the Lord. No deity worship, there was no emphasis on deity worship, no emphasis on other rituals of sacrifice, yajna and austerities and penances or any such thing. Just chant the holy name of the Lord. And anybody can join. So in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revolutionized the spiritual process. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur revived it after Mahaprabhu's disappearance. And then Srila Prabhupada gave it the perfect shape, taking it out of India, all over the world, and then establishing ISKCON to continue the mission. The so-called Brahmanas claim that one who is not born into a Brahmana family cannot receive the sacred thread and cannot become a high-grade Vaishnava. But we do not accept such a theory because it's not supported by Rupa Goswami nor by the strength of the various scriptures. So Prabhupada is actually pointing out that anybody, if he is qualified, he can become a Brahmana. And Prabhupada introduced, actually Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur introduced that process. He started to give initiation to individuals, those who are not even born in Brahmana family, which was actually unheard of in India at that time. So here we can see an Acharya. An Acharya knows what to do, and he acts on the authority of the scriptures, and he establishes the proper spiritual process. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur started to give initiation, Brahmin initiation to non-Brahmanas, which also again caused a big uproar at that time. And then Srila Prabhupada, when he went to America and Europe and all those places, Prabhupada also did the same thing. He created the Brahmanas, and even Prabhupada made a point at one time. Prabhupada mentioned that in India you don't find Brahmanas, therefore we have to import the Brahmanas from America and Europe. So actually ISKCON is the only Brahminical, maintaining the Brahminical standard. Others, they claim that they are Brahmanas, but what is their culture? They are not practicing spiritual life. They didn't commit themselves for spiritual progress. They're Brahmanas, but what are they doing? Working in an office as a clerk. And there are some Brahmanas, they're pulling a rickshaw. Here's a Brahmin thread, but pulling a rickshaw. So what kind of a Brahmana is it? The Brahmana means spiritually situated. And who else but ISKCON is actually maintaining that standard today? Therefore, ISKCON is going to establish the real Brahminical culture in this world. And another point here is that Vaishnava situation is even higher than a Brahmana's. It's not that Brahmanas are higher, Vaishnavas are higher. Brahmanas are in the mode of goodness. A Vaishnava is in the mode of pure goodness. So one who has become a Vaishnava, he has already transcended the Brahminical platform. He is even on a higher platform than a Brahmana. Therefore, to give a Vaishnava Brahmin Diksha, there is nothing unusual. It's not transgressing any norm or standard, Vedic standard. It's in conformity with the Vedic standard. So anyone who is a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. As a matter of fact, for a Vaishnava to become a Brahman is a demotion, not a promotion. Any person who is properly initiated into the Vaishnava cult certainly becomes a Brahmana. As much as the metal known as Kamsa, bell metal, is not, anyway, the pronunciation actually is Kasha, is turned into gold by mixture of mercury. A bona fide spiritual master under the guidance of the authorities can turn anyone to the Vaishnava cult, so that naturally he may come to the topmost position of a Brahmana. So transcending the Brahmana position, one actually becomes a Vaishnava. Then Prabhupada also pointed out that you are getting a chance to become a Vaishnava, not that by getting initiation or joining ISKCON you have become Vaishnavas. We shouldn't feel arrogant about our situation. That rather, on the other hand, Vaishnava is very humble. Vaishnava actually maintains a very humble disposition. He is never proud of his position. And we should not think that we have become a Vaishnava, but we should think that by Prabhupada's mercy, we are getting a chance to become a Vaishnava. Now it's up to us how sincerely we practice, and ultimately it's all a matter of quality. It's not a matter of some external things. It is not just by wearing a kantimala and shaving our head, keeping a sikha and putting tilak, we become Vaishnava. These are all external symbols. But the real consideration is the internal qualification. We have Vaishnava is a state of existence. What is that state? The state of being situated in a pure spiritual identity. That's a Vaishnava. Vaishnava is not an external thing. To be a Vaishnava means to become a pure spirit soul. He should not think that simply by acceptance of such initiation, his business is then finished. That simply by accepting initiation, he has become a Vaishnava. One still has to follow the rules and regulations very carefully. If after accepting the spiritual master and being initiated, one does not follow the rules and regulations of devotional service, then he is again fallen. Practically, there are three processes for elevating one to the platform of spiritual consciousness. Those three processes are known as karma, jnana, and bhakti. Ritualistic performances are in the field of karma. Ritualistic performances, meaning karma kanda section of the Vedas. Speculative processes are in the field of jnana. Speculative process of the cultivation of the Vedic knowledge even is the platform of jnana. That is the impersonal Brahman cultivation. One who has taken to bhakti, the devotional service of the Lord, need have nothing to do with karma and jnana. A devotee has nothing to do with karma and jnana. He doesn't need to follow these rituals, Vedic rituals, nor does he have to pursue the speculative knowledge. It has already been explained that pure devotional service is without any tinge of karma and jnana. Bhakti should have no tinge of philosophical speculation or ritualistic performances. In this this respect, in this connection, Srila Rupa Goswami gives evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 21st chapter, verse 2, in which Lord Krishna says to Uddhav, the distinction between qualification and disqualification may be made in this way. Persons who are already elevated in discharging devotional service will never again take shelter of the process of fruitive activity or philosophical speculation. That is, how do we recognize whether a person is qualified or unqualified for pure devotional service? The recognition is, yes?
No tinge of karma or jnana.
Right. The qualification is that he is not interested in karma and jnana anymore. So on the other hand, the disqualification is to still maintain attachment to karma and jnana. Then again another quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, Narad Muni advises Vasudev, even if one does not execute his specific occupational duty, but immediately takes direct shelter of the lotus feet of Hari, there will be no fault on his part, and in all circumstances his position is secure. So, pure devotional service is very simple. Just take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. There is no need for doing anything else. Just surrender. Now tell me, can surrender be easy? Can surrender be difficult? Just consider, at least I can think of one consideration of surrender which is very graphic in this case. Like in a wrestling match, the ultimate consideration is that to force him to surrender. Isn't it? Like two wrestlers are wrestling. The other person has to surrender. Surrender means he just falls flat. His back is pinned to the ground. That is, when one falls on his back on the ground, that is surrender according to wrestling. Forced surrender. Right? So the purpose of a wrestling match is to surrender. Or even a war. Purpose of a war is to make the other party surrender. So whoever surrenders is the loser and the other is the winner. Now just consider two wrestlers have got into a wrestling bout. And they're getting bashed up, they're working so hard. Like it's such a struggle actually. Wrestling or boxing, these matches are so difficult, so painful, so troublesome. Now if one party, right at the beginning of the match, says surrender, he can so easily avoid all the hassle of fighting the battle. So now, when our opponent is Krishna, when we are in a wrestling bout against Krishna, what's the chance of our winning? So we are going to lose in any case. And it actually happens. Like, there are two ways of surrender. Forced surrender is like you fell fat on your back. Or rather, you're made to fall on your back. And when your back touches the ground, and in wrestling match, that is the state of losing the battle or surrender. Now ultimately, don't we have to fall on our back, lie on our back at the time of death? So ultimately we're going to lose, every one of us are going to lose this wrestling match. So why not surrender in a proper way? Since we have to surrender, why not surrender? Not on our back, but in our front. In front of Krishna. Just dandavat here. Just surrender. And this surrender is so sweet, so wonderful. We surrender, and what Krishna does? Krishna embraces us. Krishna feels happy that we have surrendered. Then Krishna accepts us as his own. So who is that fool that in spite of getting to know about this process will not surrender unto Krishna? So devotional service actually means just this surrender to Krishna, and the rest will automatically happen. Today I'll just go through it because today is the last day. So I'll go through chapter and then I'll invite questions. Those who have questions, please write it down so that you don't forget the questions. I'll take your questions afterwards. Even if by some bad association he falls down while executing devotional service, or if he doesn't finish the complete course of devotional service and dies untimely, still he is not at a loss. A person who is simply discharging his occupational duty in Varna and Ashram, however, with no Krishna consciousness, practically does not gain the true benefit of human life. That's Narad Muni's instruction to Vasudev. Another quotation is from Rishabdev to his sons. Persons engaged in fruitive activities are repeatedly accepting birth and death. And until they develop a loving feeling for Vasudev, there will be no question of getting out from these stringent laws of material nature. The only way we can actually get out of these stringent laws of material nature is by surrendering unto Krishna. And when we do that, then getting out of these stringent laws of material nature becomes so easy. So all this will be explained later on in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that when we surrender unto Krishna, then the material nature, which is insurmountable, it's an ocean. Like, can you imagine just an ocean, a saltwater ocean which is surrounding the Earth planet, Jambudweep, like how difficult it is to go across that ocean. Now mind you, there are, just on the Bhumandal, there are 7 oceans and 7 islands. And each ocean is twice the size. The size actually increases as it goes further and further. And this is only one small little segment, small little section of the universe. And beyond this universe is the causal ocean. And beyond the causal ocean is the spiritual sky. Now can you imagine how impractical, it's impossible to get out of this material nature, go back to Godhead. It's as difficult as that, swimming across an ocean. But then, when we surrender unto Krishna, then this ocean of material nature becomes as big as the water in a puddle of water in a hoofprint of a calf. Not even the hoofprint of a cow, hoofprint of a calf. So that is how insignificant it becomes, or this is how how insignificant this material nature becomes, or this is how easy it becomes to go across the ocean of material nature when you surrender unto Krishna. So, so simple a process we have found, so why shouldn't we take advantage of it? And in the 11th canto, Krishna also tells Uddhava, "My dear Uddhava, any person who takes shelter of me in complete surrender and follows my instructions, giving up all occupational duties, is to be considered the first class man. So first class man is he who, rejecting all other considerations, have accepted Krishna's lotus feet. In Bhagavad Gita also Krishna said the same thing. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. So in this way, these points have been substantiated. Then I'll read another quotation. This is Karabhajana Muni addresses Maharaj Nimi, Nimi Navin Yogendra Sangbad, in the 11th canto. My dear king, if someone gives up his occupational duties as they are prescribed for the different varnas and ashrams, but takes complete shelter, surrendering himself unto the lotus feet of the Lord, such a person is no more a debtor, nor has he any obligation to perform the different kinds of activities we render to the great sages, ancestors, living entities, and family and society members. Nor has he any need to bother executing the 5 kinds of yajnas, sacrifices, for becoming free from sinful contaminations. Simply by discharging devotional service, he is freed from all kinds of obligations. Every one of us has some obligation or other to the devas, to the demigods, rishis, the sages, devarshi, bhutapta, bhuta, apta, nrinam, pitrinam, and knocking karo nacha nayang rinicha rajan gato mukundang sharanang sharanya. So we don't have any more obligation to anyone once we take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. We may have so many debts to so many people, but when you become surrendered to Krishna, no more debts. Krishna takes care of those debts. Otherwise, the debts have their results in the next life also. Usually, if you die with a debt, if you do not pay it up, then in your next life you have to come back and pay it back. That's how tricky it is. But when you take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, no more consideration of debts. All your debts have been absolved. So in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says that give up all occupations and just become surrendered unto me. I give you assurance that I shall give you protection from all sinful reactions. One may think that because he is surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he will not be able to perform all of these other obligations. But the Lord says repeatedly, don't hesitate, don't consider that because you are giving up all other engagements, there will be some flaw in your life. Don't think like that. I'll give you all protection. That is the assurance of Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. There is additional evidence in Agastya Samhita as the regulative principles. Agastya is saying, as the regulative principles of scriptures are not required by a liberated person, so the ritualistic principles indicated in the Vedic supplements are also not required for a person duly engaged in the service of Lord Ramchandra. So when we surrendered unto Krishna or Ram, in other words, devotees of Lord Ramchandra or Krishna are already liberated and are not required to follow all the regulative principles mentioned in the ritualistic portions of the Vedic literature. Similarly, in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th chapter, verse 42, Karabhajana Muni addresses King Nimi and says, "My dear king, a person who has given up the worship of the demigods and has completely concentrated his energy in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has become very, very dear to the Lord. As such, if by chance or mistake he does something which is forbidden, there is no need for him to perform any purificatory ceremonies. Because the Lord is situated within his heart, he takes compassion for the devotee's accidental mistake and corrects him from within." So even if a devotee makes a mistake, there is no harm in that. The Lord will rectify him. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita in many places that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, takes a special interest in his devotees and declares emphatically that nothing can cause his devotees to fall down. He is always protecting them. Okay, so please go through these chapters very carefully and try to understand the essence. What is the bottom line of what we have been studying for last few days? The bottom line?
Anybody can. Devotional service is so powerful and it's natural for everyone. So everybody must take to devotional service.
Good.
And there is no need for anything else.
Right.
Sufficient.
Just surrender. Yeah. Very good.
Devotional service is independent of everything else,
Yeah.
and there is no need to worry about
Right.
becoming qualified for it.
Exactly. Yeah. The only qualification is
Sadhu Sangha and
surrender.
is surrender.
The only qualification is surrender. Right? As I told you, the wrestling match, you go into the ring, as soon as you enter into the ring, and who is standing there as your opponent? Krishna. So just surrender. Then no more wrestling necessary. And what will you get? Love, love, and only love. Love and only loving exchange. With Krishna, surrender will lead to that loving exchange. We surrender and then we see how much Krishna loves us. Now when you see that someone is loving you so much, what will be your natural response? To love him back, to respond to that love. And you respond to the love, and then what happens? Then Krishna loves you even more. So then another kind of bout begins. That is the wrestling of love. Who can love him more? So that is the essence of all that we are studying here. Surrender unto Krishna, there is no need for anything else. Everything will be achieved just by surrendering unto Krishna. Like the other day, Atul Krishna Prabhu actually brought up a very relevant point that then what about the scriptures? All these books are there. The books are there to give us an indication that we are on the right track, that we are progressing properly, and it is a reminder. The books are the reminder. Shape up. Don't fall asleep. Don't deviate. This is how the books are actually keeping us on the track and giving us the direction. What is next? What is next? What is next? Like while you are reading Nectar of Devotion, the later parts, you will notice one thing, that many things will fly over your head. You won't understand it. But as you make advancement, they start to come back to you with newer realization. I mean, what to speak of Nectar of Devotion? When you read Bhagavad Gita, each time you read, don't you get a newer and newer meanings, revelations? That is what happens when you make it. This is how it is according to our advancement. the scriptures are becoming alive. We'll understand the scriptures according to our advancement. The more advanced we become, the more the scriptures will be revealed to us. Therefore, they are known as revealed scriptures. Originally, the knowledge is going to be revealed in our hearts. Dibbogyan Hriday Prakashito. This is not a knowledge that we are going to retain in our brains. It is something that is going to be revealed in the heart. And as it becomes revealed, they will be confirmed by the descriptions of the scriptures. Okay, so now we can invite some questions. I remember you had a question yesterday. I told you that.
Somebody asked.
Okay, yeah. Yes, Gitanagari.
We get this kind of cornucopia of wonderful things that are going to be that we are going to get, and we don't have to worry about if we become a devotee. So my question is how much of a devotee does one have to be for this to kick in?
A pure devotee. Get the absolute benefit or the absolute revelation. The pure devotee. Actually, like to the extent we become pure, to that extent it is revealed. So when we are 100% pure, without any tinge of impurity, then the whole entire spiritual sky will open up. And to the extent we become purified, to that extent we will be surrendered. So the ultimate consideration of surrender is 100%. And when we surrender 100%, then we get 100% of Krishna also. We give our 100% and Krishna gives his 100%. So tell me, isn't it a wonderful business? That's why it's Bhavasayatmika Buddhi. Ekeha Kurunandana. Yes.
Why is Mayavad philosophy condemned so much? You see, whenever Prabhupada's morning walk, it's like the Mayavadis have done something wrong to Prabhupada. That's the way Prabhupada is really condemning them.
Yeah.
In America, there are no Mayavadis even.
Or in America, everyone is a Mayavadi. Or was. Because what did Prabhupada do in America? Nirvishesha Shunnavadi. They were so badly affected by impersonalism and voidism. And Prabhupada removed that. Yeah, okay, good question. Why Mayavad is so... Why Prabhupada dealt with Mayavad in such a severe way? Because the Mayavad doesn't accept the form of Krishna. Right? They consider that this form is imaginary. And ultimately, there won't be any form. It will be only Brahman. So that means it's completely negating Krishna. There is no possibility of anyone ever becoming Krishna conscious according to that understanding. So that is why Prabhupada dealt with Mayavad so severely. Mayavad theory is that ultimately it's all Brahman. And when the Brahma is in the mode of goodness, that is avatars, incarnations. They accept the avatars, but that avatars are Brahman in the mode of goodness. They will say Krishna. Sometimes they will even promote worshipping of Krishna. They will even say meditate on Krishna. They are accepting Krishna, but their understanding is that form is material. That form is Maya. Krishna's form is illusory. Maya, just as yours and I are forms. And in the goodness, it is avatar. In passion, it is jiva. You see, we are jivas because we are in the mode of passion. Brahman, influenced by the mode of passion. So when we will transcend the mode of passion and come to Brahman, come to mode of goodness, The process of becoming good to that platform is by taking sannyas. A sannyasi is in the mode of goodness. Therefore they identify that a sannyasi is Narayan. So you are a sannyasi, so you become Narayan. You have become God. Right? But then when you transcend the mode of goodness, then you will come into the Nirvikar, Nirakar, Nirvishesh, Nishakti Brahman. And that is the ultimate goal of life. So, where is the possibility of developing any understanding about the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Right? According to their understanding, everybody can become God. Everybody can become. Oh, it's only you have to come to the mode of goodness. That's why Prabhupada smashed it. Because there is no room for devotional service. No room for understanding Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no room for surrendering unto Krishna. And there is no room for developing a loving relationship with Krishna. So the entire spiritual domain has become inaccessible due to this philosophy.
Actually, in Tamil Nadu there is one so-called God, Guru Nityananda. He says that I am not here to prove that I am God, I am here to prove that you all are God. That is more attracting to the people.
Yeah. Yes.
Maharaj, just as like impersonalist, there are Upanishads which tell that Lord is impersonal, like to remove people from material conception to come to spiritual conception. So these Mayavadis, they have any basis on the scriptures?
Which one?
The Mayavadi philosophy, they have any basis?
No, they have distorted the scriptures to prove the point. Shankaracharya, that has been described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was discussing with Sarvabhauma Acharya, he is saying that what Shankaracharya actually did, that he took some secondary statements of the Vedas, like Sarvam Khallidam Brahma, Tattamasi, Aham Brahmasmi. Now these are not the principal statements of the Vedas. These are just some secondary statements of the Vedas, but he gave them the absolute importance in order to establish his theory. And Shankaracharya actually has gone against the Vedas. You see, Vasudev has propounded a theory called Brahma Parinamvad, which is the actual reality. Brahman has been so in simple words, it's a theory of transformation. Brahman has been transformed into Jagat. But Shankaracharya came up with another theory called Vivartavad. Vivarta means a theory of illusion. And he gave the example, what is an illusion, theory of illusion? The illusion is like a mirage. It's actually hot sand, but appears to be water. A rope is mistaken to be a snake. It's actually a rope, but in dark, the rope appears to be like a snake. And you react as if it's a snake. So, that is the Vivarta. It is not there, but it mistaken to be there. So that is why the Vivartavad is considered called, in simple words, it has been called Mayavad. Which actually in English it is the theory of illusion. Theory of illusion. But see how expertly Ramanujacharya defeated Shankaracharya's point. He said, fine, there is no water in the mirage. But somewhere there is water, that's why you're mistaking the mirage to be water. Okay, fine, there is no snake in the rope, but somewhere there is a snake, that's why you're mistaking the rope to be a snake. So in this way, he pointed out that in the spiritual, here it is an illusion. But it's not illusion, it's a reflection. The real thing is there. And it is reflected here in the way we are perceiving, which is apparently not real. It's a reflection. So in this way, by defeating Shankaracharya's theory, is again known as Kevala-Dvaitavad. It's known as Vivartavad, Kevala-Dvaitavad, Mayavad. So the theory itself is called Kevala-Dvaitavad. And Ramanujacharya defeated Shankaracharya's point with a Vishishtha-Dvaitavad. The Advaita is there, a non-dual, but that non-dual aspect is a spiritual reality. There everything is spiritual. And in that spiritual reality, there is variety. Whereas Shankaracharya is saying that there is no variety, Kevala Dvaitavad. No variety, it's just one, undifferentiated one. No, you are mistaking it to be this. So it must be existing, not here, but there.
As in that, first quoted Vyasdev's theory.
Louder, please.
First, Maharaj, you told about Vyasdev's theory, that is Brahman coming into Brahman.
Brahman is transformed, parinam. Transformation, theory of transformation. The example is milk became yogurt. Milk is a substance, yogurt also is a substance. It is not that milk is a substance and then milk became nothing. That is what Shankaracharya's point is. Ultimately it's all Brahman, and then Brahma Sattva Jagan Mitha. Right? But reality is Brahma as a Brahman is Satya, and this Jagat as Jagat is also Satya. The milk is reality, and yogurt also is reality. The difference is milk can become yogurt, but yogurt cannot become milk. Yes?
Srila Prabhupada in this chapter explains about prayaschit atonement. So, and he says that if one falls down, then one can reinstate himself by performing the devotional principles back again. So my question is, does this mean he won't suffer the sinful reaction?
Well, there may be some reactions, but those reactions won't be that effective. Because Krishna, you see, when one becomes a devotee, then he surrenders unto Krishna. Then he is entirely up to Krishna, under Krishna's jurisdiction. And if there is some mistake, let Krishna deal with it. That is the attitude. Krishna will deal with it. Nobody else can. If you are directly under the king, then can the king's subordinate judge you? No. Because the king you may commit some crime, apparent crime, but if you are under the king's direct jurisdiction of the king, then the king may say, okay, no problem. It's all right. And another example that Prabhupada gives in this respect is that, you see, who is a devotee? Devotee is one who acts on behalf of Krishna. Right? Now, while acting on behalf of Krishna, then there is no personal sin involved. Like, for example, this is the example Prabhupada gives. A soldier in the battlefield on behalf of the king killed so many enemies. Right? And as a result of that, the king rewards him. But the same soldier, when he commits some crime on his own accord, then the same king who rewarded him for killing hundreds of people punishes him. Right? So that is the advantage of being under the king. Now say a king, a soldier is under the king. is very dear to the king. If he makes some mistake, and if he goes to the king and says, I'm sorry, the king may just, give him some token punishment. And so that's what happens to a devotee. Krishna gives some token punishment. There is no need to repent, and there is no need to atone for that. The only atonement is sincere repentance. Oh, I'm sorry, I deviated from Krishna consciousness. And go back to Krishna's lotus feet.
Maharaj, we understand that deity worship is an aspect of the limbs of devotional service. However, when we discuss about ritualistic ceremonies, how does it distinction? Where is the distinction between the two?
You see, deity worship in devotional platform is simply to enhance our attachment to Krishna, right? It's a part of our spiritual practice. See, the ultimate consideration is Shravanam and Kirtanam, right? And in that there is Archanam, Vandanam. But we have to understand this Archanam and Vandanam in this case is simply supporting the Shravanam and Kirtanam aspect. Because Shravanam and Kirtanam already includes all that. Chanting like the holy, let's put it this way, holy name. In the name the form is there. Right? In the form the qualities are there. Right? And along with that the pastimes are there. Krishna's associates are there. Krishna's abode is there. So everything is there in the holy name. And how do you receive the holy name? How do you register the holy name? Through Shravanam and Kirtanam. So the main thing is the holy name, and the way to perceive the holy name is through Shravanam and Kirtanam. So everything else that goes on there is simply to enhance that Shravanam and Kirtanam. Archanam, Vandanam, all that. Whereas the ritualistic ones, they just caught up with the Vedic rituals and they try to execute their performance. There the love is not the primary consideration. There the consideration is the scriptural injunctions. Right? And that's why they just miss out on the real point. Therefore, the thing is, which Prabhupada is pointing out, that the Vaidhi Bhakti should actually lead to enhancing Raganuga Bhakti. Spontaneous, loving relationship. Rag actually means love. Raganuga Bhakti and Prema Bhakti is synonymous. Yes?
The other limbs of devotional service like Archana, Vandanam, they are also independent. Tutu Maharaj, he was doing Archana only. So,
yeah. They are there. They are there, but what I was pointing out, that our case of this Navada Bhakti is little specialized. Yes, one can achieve perfection by following those processes, but those perfection, main point is those perfection will not take them to Radha Krishna in Vrindavan. Without Shravanam and Kirtanam, which means actually Sankirtan. The only way to reach Vrindavan is through Sankirtan.
Another thing that we say that the Karmakanda section of the Vedas, but the Karmakanda section of the Vedas does not include deity worship, just like this Brahma, Smat, Dayananda. So they don't worship deities.
That is different, but no. If you follow the Vaidhi Bhakti, say in South India, they are actually following the Karmakanda section. And they are very expert in deity worship and all that they do. But They're missing out on that real thing. Yes, Atul Krishna Prabhu.
Prabhupada writes, or Goswami is writing here that one engaged in devotional service doesn't require to do any prayashchitta. And sometimes we devotees present, the importance of vratas like Chaturmasya and Bhishma Pancha and different Ekodashi vratas. And it's described there that these vratas will purify you from all sinful reactions. So can you comment on that? That on one hand, where it's kind of like implying that just by practicing devotional service, we're completely purifying ourselves.
Right. Some of the things are essential, like Ekadasi, Janmashtami, Ram Navami, Radhashtami, Gaur Purnima. So these are known as Madhava Tithi. The Tithi is the days that are very dear to Krishna. And by observing, special devotional activities on that day enhances our devotion because it pleases Krishna. But other things, I do not know about Chaturmas. Personally, I don't think Srila Prabhupada so much introduced that, You see, what happened is, during the early days, when some devotees came from the West, Prabhupada sent them to India, and they were staying in Gauriya Math, and they saw some activities in Gauriya Math, like Chaturmas, they were growing beard, and they don't really follow the Chaturmas show strictly, but I think these had been introduced through those, because Prabhupada was not so much concerned about the austerities and penances for the devotees, because Prabhupada knew that these devotees are just, Prabhupada was happy that they're practicing devotional service. Like, young American boys and girls, like that they accepted Krishna consciousness, that was good enough for Srila Prabhupada, Like he didn't, even Ekadasi, the way Prabhupada actually implemented the Ekadasi, instituted Ekadasi in ISKCON, is actually very, very simple, Just abstain from grains and beans. But have a feast. But if you look at real observance of Ekadasi is fasting, and fasting means fasting, right? The abstinence from grains and beans is no way fasting. Right? So, and also another, why I'm saying it is because I had a personal experience once. You see, I was in Vrindavan at that time, serving Srila Prabhupada. I used to cook for Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada actually taught me how to cook, because he wanted a male devotee cooking for him, and when I started to serve him, one day I proposed, Srila Prabhupada, can I cook for you? And Prabhupada said, okay, and he cooked for me tomorrow. And then Prabhupada started to teach me himself, actually. Anyway, so one day in Vrindavan, Prabhupada asked me to make a preparation which needed spinach. And so I went to the kitchen, and then I was told that that was the month of spinach fast. So I went and told Prabhupada, this month is spinach fast of Chaturmas. Then Prabhupada commented, is everyone observing Chaturmas? And I got the message. I went to the Loi Bazaar, I went to the market and got spinach. The Prabhupada mentioned about 2 types of spinach, and palang shak and data shak. Anyway, I got those 2 types of spinaches, and I cooked that preparation. And for days together, Prabhupada he liked that preparation so much that for days together he took that, and it was Chaturmas. And so rather we should be more concerned about, purifying our quality of chanting than all these secondary ritualistic activities. Chandrasekhar?
In the same line, it occurred to me that in regards to deity worship, for example, we have this very famous picture of Srila Prabhupada offering the first arti to Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan. He's wearing a kurta, stitched cloth, for the opening.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah.
But then some devotees will say, well, we can't imitate him. And they could say we can't imitate the Chaturmas, eating spinach during Chaturmas. And then the other way to look at it is, well, Prabhupada's preaching by his example. So how do we see it?
Well, I mean, the thing is that my common sense says that when Prabhupada is doing the deity worship wearing the kurta, I mean, it's not that important, But at the same time, like if the tendency is there to set a very pakka standard, because early days we did things which were not really very pakka, and now let us set up a proper standard. That is also good for our preaching. So that way we can look at it. But when Prabhupada is doing the deity worship wearing kurta, wearing stitched cloth, that is a clear indication that Prabhupada is saying that, well, this can be done in this way. There is no need to be that strict. That's one way of looking at it. But the other way of looking at it is that, say for example, early days Prabhupada said, just fast from grains and beans on Ekadasi. But then we are actually now, some of us are observing Ekadasi in a very strict way, even fasting from water. So if we can enhance the standard, that is fine. That is desirable, because ultimately we have to establish the Vedic culture. Now if we say that Prabhupada was liberal, so that should be our standard. Now that is also not right. Prabhupada was liberal when we were young. But now that we are growing up, let us become strict among us about ourselves. And that is for the benefit of propagation of Krishna consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah, this is something that always something that ISKCON is doing now that kind of just really, I find really, that wasn't done during Prabhupada's appearance, or Prabhupada's manifest pastime. And that is the change of time zones and the calculation of when it's Ekadasi on this day and when it's Ekadasi. And if you go to another time zone, it's Ekadasi tomorrow, and it's Janmashtami on this. And Prabhupada, when he was present, he said, whatever day it's Ekadasi in Mayapur, then it's Ekadasi all over the year. If on January 13th it's Ekadasi in Mayapur, then on January 13th, we just observe it all over the world. Whatever day it falls, if Janmashtami falls on August 20th in Mayapur, then on August 20th it's Janmashtami all over the world. So I don't know. I find that standard just really smart and intelligent, because especially when you're driving a truck across time zones. It's really hard to figure out what day is Ekadasi, what day isn't Ekadasi.
Yeah.
And finally, when I was in that situation, I just looked at the Mayapur calendar and I said, whatever day it's Ekadasi in Mayapur, it's Ekadasi for me. So I was wondering, anyway, how do you feel about that? And it makes life very complicated.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's quite beyond me also. I can't figure out. Like sometimes, as you said, 21st, say Janmashtami is 20th August in Mayapur. And sometimes the Janmashtami is on 19th August in Los Angeles. A day before Mayapur, I don't know, I'm not an expert in astrology, so I don't want to go into that. But my tendency is that whichever way ISKCON is going, I go along. But these are some developments that now is very difficult to undo. The person who started that, he's gone. He's not in ISKCON anymore. But we are just left with all these. Yes?
This thing about doing austerity, I think God's trying to create a lot of different austerities. For example, just mass or feeling cold, a lot of different. But I think if a person wants to do austerity, why he doesn't go to book distribution, for example?
Yeah, right. That's a real austerity. Yeah. Anyway, let's not dwell into that. Let's just carry on. Yes?
I have a question, because in the first chapter we read about occupational duties, that whatever occupational duty we have, just worship Krishna, and now there was a lot in the chapter, give up your occupational duty. I cannot...
Is it saying that give up your occupational duty?
We had it a lot of times,
saying that if we give up, or even if we give up our occupational duty, then also if we surrender to Krishna, no.
Yeah.
Even if.
So I try to understand what this means.
Yeah. Now tell me first of all, what is devotional service? The definition of devotional service is that you render service to Krishna under the guidance of your spiritual master. Right? So, if your spiritual master tells you to maintain your occupational duty, you do that. If your spiritual master says you reject it, you do that, because he knows what is for your ultimate benefit. Right? It's not that whimsically we just give up something. We must act under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master. To act under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master is what makes it devotional service. So, yes?
Is it that pure devotion service can be practiced when one has come to the first class platform of devotional life, from neophyte to madhyam, or is it feasible to practice in neophyte stage also?
Can you repeat again?
Practice of pure devotional service, is it feasible in neophyte stage, or it is possible when one has come to the first category of devotion?
Like say for example, when you come to ISKCON, which has been designed to enable everyone to practice pure devotional service or perform pure devotional service, then when you're functioning as a part of ISKCON, yes, even though you're neophyte, you are in the structure that is designed for pure devotional service. Because when you come to ISKCON, when you are directed by Srila Prabhupada's teachings, then you are not interested in fruitive activities and desire for liberation. Right? In ISKCON, what you are trained up to be, to render pure devotional service to Krishna and don't have any other desire. Isn't
That
it?
takes time. For individual, it takes time to...
And as you make advancement, your purity, you started off with the process of pure devotional service, but your individual purity is increased, or individually you become more and more pure as you make advancement, or vice versa. As you become more pure, to that extent you become advanced. So it doesn't matter that we are neophyte. The other day I gave the example of green mango that Prabhupada mentioned. The mango may be green now, but if it stays in the tree, then in course of time the mango will become ripe. So it doesn't matter it's a green mango, but you can say that it's ripe mango. Because you took it for granted that it's going to stay in the tree, and in course of time it will become ripe. So similarly, no matter whatever our situation is right now, but one thing we know, that if we stay on in ISKCON, someday we'll become a pure devotee. So that's the point. Yes, I'll take last 3 questions and then we'll have a kirtan. Yes.
But here it is stated that when one becomes liberated, the regulative principles of the scriptures are not required. So can we,
When one is liberated, yeah.
so can we say out that is the temple program come in that category? Means when one becomes pure devotee?
You see, that's the thing, that he doesn't need to attend the temple program. But still he does it to set the right example. Because he is, concerned about the welfare of others. Therefore he acts in such a way which will benefit everybody.
So they said that hearing and chanting are always needed.
You're off the line. You're out of turn. I said last 3 questions. I completely forgot. Anyway, go ahead.
It's mentioned that hearing and chanting, even if one is liberated, or even if one becomes...
He'll continue to do hearing and chanting.
So temple program also includes hearing and chanting.
Yeah. And also, like when you go to Vrindavan, what will you do? You'll attend the temple programs there also. There'll be a real temple program.
What is the difference between Raganuga Bhakti and Prem Bhakti? And Uttam Adhikari, he is on Raganuga platform or Prem Bhakti platform?
Well, you see, Raganuga actually there are 2 paths, you can say. One is following the rules and regulations of the scriptures. Following the scriptures is one path. And following your heart, right, is another path. Heart means love, right? So that is another path. So when you're practicing devotional service, then these 2 paths are a consideration. Raganuga sadhana bhakti, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. And by practicing, you will become situated in that particular path. If Raganuga is your course, you'll move on that direction. And as a result of, the end result of Raganuga bhakti, you'll get the Prema bhakti.
Uttamadhikari is on the platform Prema Bhakti?
Yes, yes. Uttamadhikari is on the platform Prema bhakti. Yes.
If I can just sneak in one question before we finish. On this topic of spreading Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada particularly says all over the Western world. If Prabhupada was to, let's say, come here for the GBC meetings next year, how do you feel, from your point of view, how satisfied do you think Prabhupada is, would be, with our reports of how we've continued to spread Krishna consciousness in the Western world after his meetings?
Yeah, Prabhupada will be terribly disappointed. Prabhupada will go to the temple. Like for example, once I was in London, there was a big program in the manor. It was a donors banquet, right? 500 families were gathered there. And in my speech, I opened it with the consideration, that Prabhupada will be very pleased that so many of you have come. So many of you have accepted Krishna consciousness and helping the movement. But at the same time, Prabhupada will question, we are in England, where are the Englishmen? Because they are all Indians. So Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was here, our temples are filled with Western devotees. Not that, Prabhupada was making a discrimination. Prabhupada wanted Indians as well as the Westerners. But today, most of the Western, most of the temples in the Western countries, there are very, very few Western devotees. And the programs are just, it's an Indian program. Most of them just come on the Sundays and for the Sunday feast. And the other days, most of the temples are empty. Sometimes there is a joke, jokingly some of our god brothers I heard mention that in some temples there are more deities than devotees. So Prabhupada will be very, very disappointed seeing that. He'll be happy that so many devotees are joining, especially in India, and in the West also so many Indians are coming forward. But ultimately Prabhupada's concern is to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And until and unless the local people get involved, it's not really bearing its result. Like for example, it's not that Prabhupada wanted only the whites to join. When Prabhupada was in Africa, Prabhupada was in Kenya, in Nairobi. And the devotees brought the local Indians, important Indians, to meet Srila Prabhupada. So after they left, Prabhupada asked, "Did I come to Africa to meet the Indians? Where are the Africans?" And the next day the devotees went out and got the Africans to, they picked them up from the streets. So knowing well what the spirit of Prabhupada was like, I dare to make a comment like that Prabhupada would be very, very disappointed. Because this is not what Prabhupada really wants. And that's why we have to shape up. We have to start preaching. And this is also another thing I tell in the West. When I see only Indians, I tell them that when I see only Indians, I can see that there is no preaching. Those who are coming on their own volition, we are happy with them. We are not going out of our way to preach to the people and bring them to Krishna consciousness. And where preaching is going on, the result is there. I'll say, for example, Los Angeles temple. Preaching is going on, and yes, you see so many Westerners there. Okay, so yeah, their question, last question.
Externally surrender to people may Shiva or change the dress, but what is the real internal surrender to Krishna, and how one can achieve that?
Manasa deho geho jo kichu mor or pilu tu apade nanda kishore. That's the internal surrender. My mind, my body, my home, my family, everything that I have, I'm offering them to you, Krishna. So there is nothing to claim as my own. Everything belongs to Krishna. Even I belong to Krishna. So that is the ultimate internal surrender. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.